Dean, thank you so much. And thank you for your support of Emerge OTA. What a year it has been. Who in the world would have thought that after we walked away from Cleveland last year that we would be sitting here today being extremely happy about 106 people in a room and being happy that everyone has said to me today, I'm just so glad I can be around other people. What a year it has been. It has been absolutely a crazy year, and the association has stepped up to that challenge and stepped up very heavily. And I will talk a lot about how COVID has been, but I will tell you this, is that I would be remiss if I did not start off without thanking the staff members that we have at OTA who have stepped up to the plate and done well beyond what we ever have asked them to ever do to be able to help out. So please give them a round of applause for all the work that they've done. Again, thank you to the Emerge staff and the Emerge participants. What a great program that is. We talked a little bit about that. We do things a little different. In fact, the picture you see here is we had a session, and Evan had kind of pioneered this with a PR group, and we actually sat down and interviewed every one of the Emerge OTA participants as if they were being interviewed by a news outlet. So you have a truck accident, you have something go wrong in your company, your Emerge participant has actually been through that. And if you have not been through a hardcore interview before, they are absolutely horrific. And if you have not been prepped for them, they're even worse. It makes it worse than a deposition. And I know most of you have been through those, and those are not any fun at all. But Emerge OTA gives them the financial capabilities they have, the PR side of it, the people side of it, the sales side of it, and that's what we're doing. And what we're going to do this year is, because we know that 2021 is going to be a challenging year, that we are going to retool Emerge OTA. So we're going to pull it offline for 2021, and that's usually at this particular event we would announce our next year's class. But we're going to pull it back and retool it and bring it back in 2021. So we will announce in this spring a application process in which you can nominate someone from your company to participate, or yourself to participate in Emerge OTA. And it is right now it's a 4-session in-person meeting where we sit down and we meet with everyone in the organization, they meet as a group and they learn about different topic areas. So we're pulling it back. We're going to retool it and make it even better than what it has been previously. Again, I know it was a little clunky at the start when I did the nomination, but we have another great opportunity to lead on a national level. And Sherry Garner-Brumbaugh with Garner Trucking is stepping in here in October. We joked about being virtually sworn in for the American Trucking Association. So please give Sherry a round of applause and congratulate her on this great accomplishment. And I will say this, and I think she's comfortable with me saying this. I'll find out here after I get off stage. Sherry has fought her tail off to get to this spot. And the thing is I will tell you that everyone who gets to this spot has to fight their tail off to get this, but Sherry has put in an immense amount of work to get to this spot. And Sherry, I want to be the first person to tell you from Ohio that we are extremely, extremely proud of you. Welcomed a new staff member in January. He had really no idea what he got himself into, and after COVID hit, he really, really had no idea what he got himself into. But Erwin Shires came to us as the VP of Education and Engagement. Most of you know Erwin or ran into Erwin. He has been a very loyal advocate of the association for many years, has been to a number of these events, has been to our call on Washington, and Erwin came to us from Panther Premium Logistics, where he did a lot of government and regulatory affairs work. He has been serving in a number of committees, a number of capacities, and has been really great to have on staff as that additional resource when it comes to compliance and regulatory affairs. So Erwin's been a great addition. We've had to knock the corporate mentality out of him a little bit and that government side. But the other interesting part about Erwin is Erwin actually was an owner, operator, and a driver. So Erwin brings that background as well. Now, I always remind him that I have my CDL, but I couldn't drive from here to the backside of the room with the truck at this point. So, and even when I had my CDL, I'd be lucky if I could pull that off. Membership has been a challenge. Obviously, in the years of COVID, membership's a challenge in any organization. People are looking at how do we cut costs? How do we make sure that we make ourselves more efficient? So membership has been an extreme challenge for every association out there. But I will tell you, from my perspective, association has been holding very strong. And I think that's because of the value that the association provides. One thing that COVID had provided us the opportunity to do was really truly showcase what the value of the association is and the power that associations can have. And we've wielded a lot of power when it came to interacting with government, giving you the information that you need, and communicating with you the ins and outs of what's going on in today's society. So we did see a significant bump in membership in that we completed a merger with the Ohio Association of Movers. So if you'll recall, we used to run the Ohio Association of Movers under a management agreement. We have now completely merged with them. So now our membership is at 879. I think the number is 878 members now. So we're starting to branch out into other areas where we're taking a look at how can we serve the industry and also serve those different sectors who serve the industry. So to give you an example, we're in the process right now of starting up the Ohio CDL Schools Association. So a small grouping of people who provide CDL training in the state of Ohio to get them representation. The Highway Patrol dictates what their curriculum is, but they have no voice with the Highway Patrol whatsoever on what that curriculum should be and how that's impacted. So we're starting to build on the association's strength through people who serve the industry and people who serve in those capacities. We opened up a new office. So pre-COVID, we had a great idea. We said, you know what, we're going to hold one in-person training a week, and we're going to pack the room full of people and train them up on everything it needs to be successful in the industry, be more operationally efficient, be more profitable, give them all the skills that they have. And then we could only put 9 people in a room. Awesome. Great plan. So we got through with the renovation. We got everything done. It ended up being an absolutely beautiful building. It is 3 miles that way. It's right off this Cleveland Avenue exit, very easy in and out. So we, like all of you, had to shut down our offices for a while. And ours was longer than you all were because you guys were deemed essential businesses, which we'll talk about in a second. So obviously the spring rain was pretty bad. And owning a building it's always fun, right? So I happened to be in the building one day just at random, and I walked upstairs and found this. So I found myself doing demo work that weekend, getting all that drywall and that wet insulation out of there and all the pieces that go with that. So had a leak in the roof, happened to be a chimney, got it all fixed, insurance paid for it, but always the joys of owning a building, as you all know, there's always something special that's there. But no, we're extremely proud of the building. It's been a really great source of pride for us. We love showing it off. We've had a couple board meetings there. And one of the things that we did do is we actually are doing in-person training. We are one of the few associations that's actually meeting. This is the largest meeting that this hotel has had in this facility since February. Think about that. The hotel and lodging industry and the restaurant industry completely decimated, and it impacts us all very much. But this is the largest meeting that they've had. So we continue to push forward and continue to do the things that our members need us to do. I was very pleased, and I'm very glad that Rebecca is with us today. I got the last year the opportunity to spend on what's called the Research Advisory Committee. So we met in Atlanta in March. I think it was one of the last planes I was on through the whole COVID thing. And sat down and took a look at a number of different research projects that ATRI was going to take a look at. I submitted 4. 2 of them got picked. Very proud of that. One of which was the the small claims impacting insurance. We always talk about, the big claims, the big ones that hit your insurance, but what about all the little ones that add up and what that impact is? So they are working on a number of great projects. We've got updates on them all. ATRI does an amazing, amazing job. I will not steal Rebecca's thunder too much, other than to say, if you don't give to ATRI, you need to very seriously take a look. This is all free research available to anybody, and they're a 501c3, so it's tax deductible. that giving to Atri is a great return on your investment. One other piece that we unveiled last year at conference and has continued to grow is what we call the OTA Marketplace. So we are your one-stop shop for everything you need. So if you want to go through and have a procurement system, if you're a small to mid-sized fleet, we can get you large fleet discounts on everything that you have in your operating, from tires to fuel to shop supplies to office supplies to paper to toilet paper, which they're probably out of it anyway, just like everything else. But anything you need, you can get here. And this is a free service to members. You're going to get better pricing, sometimes at discounts up to 62% off. So it doesn't matter if you're a trucking company or a vendor or anyone you want. If you go to OTA Marketplace and you're a member, you get this service for free. They like to tell you that there's free shipping. And I continually have to remind them that there is no such thing as free shipping, as you're all getting paid to move it. But at some point, it's going to be baked into the price. But it's just like ordering off of Amazon, and you have deep discounts that you get. If you're a large fleet with multiple locations and buyers, they also now have an enterprise version where you can set up a total procurement system from start to finish. So if you have a terminal manager that is ordering shop supplies or whatever else, and you don't have a process in place, you can use their enterprise system to do approvals of those purchases, to work through that whole piece that's there, as well as you can upload your own vendors with your own discounts into this system. So you can still use your same services in their system and still have the same procurement system that's out there. So go to otamarketplace.com and get a demo today and sign up with them. They have done great work for us to be able to provide our members with another great service. I usually don't talk about this event because it's just kind of one of those events where all my counterparts meet. The reason I brought it up is because I actually got to go somewhere. It was absolutely great. We originally were going to meet in Phoenix, and then literally the week before, Phoenix got shut down again, or Arizona got shut down again. So we ended up in Laramie, Wyoming. And let's be honest, who doesn't want to go to Laramie, Wyoming? And the great part is that's where Chris Spear, the president and CEO of ATA, has a place, because he went to school at the University of Wyoming. And we got to spend the weekend with the Spear family, travel around the mountains in these quads, had an absolutely great time. Chris led us around on his dirt bike, which there again, I had no idea that Chris actually rode dirt bike, but had a great time talking about all the challenges that we've had through this COVID crisis. One other piece that we've done is we have started up a kind of a pioneering system that no other association is doing, that we're calling the Entrepreneurial Association Mindset. And we're taking the best business literature and the best strategic planning and operating literature and putting it together into operating the association. How do we come through for our members every day? Every quarter do we come through for our members? So we sat down as a staff and came up with 5 values that we cherish in our office: being authentic, being advocates for our members, being innovative, being influential, and having that grit to get the job done, just like you all do every day. What is our core focus? Core focus is member profitability and productivity. That's it. If it does not fall into productivity and profitability, we're not doing it. We're not chasing these tail around for other things. We're getting stuff done for our members. So we do this in a 3-year picture, a 1-year picture, and quarterly rocks. I will tell you that the board has been very supportive of this effort. It is one that's being looked at by a lot of associations. It came from the book called Traction, which they have what's called the Entrepreneurial Operating System. Absolutely great book. If you're looking for a way to improve the efficiency of your organization, it's a great read. Take a look at it and give it a shot. And there's tons of folks out there that do this professionally. We actually in-housed it, but it is a great opportunity to really come through on your strategic and business plans. So we're making some great strides in implementing that and moving that forward. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. If I see that red little ball one more time, I'm going to throw up. So sick of seeing that. But let's be honest, this has changed our dynamic completely. This world that we are living in, this new normal, which if I hear that again, I'm going to throw up again. But we are living in this whole different world, and it is impacting us greatly. I don't think anyone in this room has not seen their business decline, fluctuate, change significantly. I mean, who knows that hauling for Gojo was such a great deal, or hauling for food service in hotels was such a bad deal, right? All these standard businesses that we had placed on a growth path completely blown up in the course of what seemed to be like a weekend. And then now all of a sudden the quarantine seems to last like 7 years, right? I mean, that's the weird part is think about it, it was 6 months ago. And now it's amazing what has happened in that 6 months. But as I said earlier, this gave us an opportunity to show value to our members. This became an opportunity for us to show what we're worth. We made sure that this business was deemed essential. Remember when that whole conversation was started was your business essential? I will tell you, I sat in on meetings with the governor and the lieutenant governor and his staff as they were having their discussions about it. There was actually discussions about defining essential based on the freight in the back of the truck. So if you were hauling toilet paper, that was essential. But if you were hauling office paper, that would not be essential. Can you imagine what a nightmare that would have been of trying to figure out what freight was essential and what freight wasn't? And that was actually a discussion. So we made sure that we had that discussion really early on. We worked with the Department of Homeland Security when they came out with theirs and had numerous conversations with them. So to think that little old Ohio isn't represented on the national level and can make a huge impact, I will tell you that we did, that we made sure that trucking, regardless of what was in the trailer, was deemed to be essential. We also got professional licensing for everyone in the state of Ohio. We originally said, they said, what's one thing that you need right away? And my thing was, if you're going to close all the registrar's office or significantly limit them, you need to take all the CDLs that are going to expire and just extend them. And they brought that, and that was how the bill was originally written in the legislature. And they looked at it and said, this is such a great idea. We're going to do it for all licenses, doctors, lawyers, physical therapists, nurses, all these people who had license renewals coming up during this pandemic got their license extended because of us. So the doctors and the lawyers and everyone, you're all welcome because we did this for you. But that's the interesting part is the little old truckers, once again, stepped up to the plate and got things done that made sense. We also worked with the FMCSA on med cards. So as soon as we had the discussion about CDL renewal, what's the last place in the world you want to be during a pandemic when you're healthy is in a clinic or in a hospital, getting your blood pressure checked 3 times so you can pass the med card. Maybe that was just me that I had to get my blood pressure checked 3 times to pass. But we worked with the FMCSA. I emailed them numerous times. You need to get this. You need to get this done. We need to extend the med cards. Don't have these folks going in to a clinic, potentially getting sick during the middle of a pandemic just to get a med card renewed for 6 months or a year. Just extend it. So that is something we got done. We talked today about immunity. Ohio put immunity in for COVID claims. So if your business gets sued because someone got COVID because they shopped at your place, they came into your place, or you're an essential business and they were working and they got COVID, you had a potential liability. That liability has been erased, for the most part, under House Bill 606, proactively back to the start of March. So when the emergency got listed out, that immunity, you now have immunity from lawsuits in that case. One of the other things that they tried to sneak in there was that if you were an essential worker and you got COVID, that was a compensable claim under workers' comp. Now, I know workers' comp sitting on some cash, but they ain't sitting on that much cash. So that's the issue, is that is now out of the bill. It is not a compensable claim that if you got COVID because you were required to work. It's not a workers' comp claim. So we got that done as well for you. We provided the resources to keep you rolling. We had both a member-facing and a non-member facing. And the difference was the non-member side. So any non-member could go to our website and find out the latest information about how to continue to run and how to continue to operate at this time. The members, when they logged in, got all the resources. In fact, you could go to our member side and print out 5 sheets of paper that were right there, put it in your cab, and your folks were good to run in the state of Ohio. Your license, your driver's license was renewed. Your license for your vehicle, your registration was renewed. Everything was done. You could haul overweight for free. That was renewed. All of that stuff was in a simple packet that our members, all they had to do was print it out, put it in the cab card, and they were off and running. So we made sure that we took all those resources that are available to you, and as a member of OTA, you had that at a click of a button to be able to get your people going, and you had everything you needed. Communication, communication, communication was the mantra in the office. We need to communicate with our members. We had daily emails going out with everything new that was moving on, and whatever DeWine's flavor of the month was got put out. That you knew exactly moments after it was announced what was going on with COVID, what the new restrictions were, who could be working and who could not be working, and how it was impacting your business. So we communicated and overly communicated, because in a time of need, over communication is never a problem. We made sure you had everything that you had. We also ended up doing twice a week webinars on what the latest piece was going on, and work through that side of it. So we did not only did we do the email side of it, we did the video side of it and moved into that. And I'll talk a little bit about that moving forward. Talk a little bit about business intelligence. We decided, hey, if we're going to have an issue with the economy, we need to know what's going on in the trucking industry. So starting back at the end of March, we did a weekly economic survey, and I'm going to walk you through the results of that economic survey. So every Monday at 8 a.m., you get an email from me that says, fill out your darn survey. And it's not only our members, it's non-members as well. It goes over 3,000 contacts throughout the state of Ohio to be able to do an economic impact study, so we know what's going on in the industry, and we share that with everybody. We established PPE provider pipelines. Let's be honest, finding masks and hand sanitizer was a nightmare. You couldn't find them anywhere you want. So we went out and found businesses that provided that. So we worked with Flow, which is a company here in Columbus, that were providing masks for us. And we worked with a couple distilleries to provide hand sanitizer. We learned a little bit of lessons in that. So apparently hand sanitizers that come from distilleries smell like booze. So when a driver got pulled over and they smelled like booze, they could say, oh, just a hand sanitizer. So we learned a little bit about that piece going forward, but we were able to provide those items that we couldn't get, to be able to provide that PPE pipeline that was there, or at least provide you to a vendor that could get you that information. Talked a little bit about virtual and hybrid trainings. That's something that I think is here to stay. How many people here are sick of Zoom meetings? I know I am. They're here to stay, but we are going to continually do that, where all of our training in the office is not only going to be in office, but it's also going to be available online. So we're starting to work through that process as well. And the other big thing we did, we called all our members. We picked up the phone and made a phone call to our members and said, how are you doing? What is impacting your business, and how can we help? And there again, I say this with all due respect to anyone else in the association world, but what other association are you a member of that you actually got a phone call from their staff asking how you're doing and what can we do to help? Because that's what we are committed to making sure that we do that. So let's talk a little bit about the economic study. I'm not Bob Costello. I don't have 195 slides in which he only uses 7 of them. But I'm going to walk you through really quickly what we asked. So we asked a question of, what was your growth year over year? This week, what was your growth year over year? Green lines indicate negative growth. Blue lines indicate positive growth. The red bars are flat growth. I know you can't see it, but if you were to drop a trend line on the negative growth year over year is actually going down. So we are seeing some folks who are starting to see some positive growth year over year. So then here's the scatter chart. What we saw the most part is they're only down 5 to 15%. Some of the months, really early on, we were seeing people well over 50% drop in the number of loads they had. We were seeing some people in the 80% drop. We were seeing some people who said that they had all their trucks parked on the fence for about a week. So some pretty huge differences. Ed Nagel said to me, called me up one day, he says, you know what, loads are loads, no big deal. I want to know what revenue is minus all the ancillary charges. So we added that question. What's your year over year revenue growth minus fuel surcharge and all the other ancillary charges? So we're kind of seeing a little bit of growth in that realm. It's kind of leveled off a little bit. It's dependent on week by week basis. We started this part in June. But the negative growth is still coming down. So we are starting to see revenue pop up a little bit as far as the industry goes. But it's going to take about a year to be able to figure all that out. There again, here's the scatter chart, 5 to 15% loss or drop off year over year as far as revenue goes. And that's been pretty consistent with the phone conversations I've had. So let's go week over week growth. So we asked the question, compared to last week, how many loads did you have? There again, March and April, high numbers as far as negative growth. We are seeing loads drop off left and right week over week. And then you see that, now you can see this in the week over week analysis. Negative growth is dropping way off. Blue lines of positive growth is coming back. So we're starting to see loads on a week over week basis come back. And there again, that's the scatter chart that we take a look at. And we look at week over week loads, for the most part, it's flat and it's actually starting to see an increase. So we're starting to see higher levels of loads week over week. So we're starting to see a little bit of growth in the economy. Obviously, as things reopen, we start doing meetings like this. People start going out to other places besides fast food. We talked a little bit about today, the biggest growth areas was wine and then hard liquor. I mean, those are the two biggest growth areas. So if you're in those businesses, you're screaming. And then fast food. Fast food was just killing it over this process. So then we also then asked, what do you anticipate next week will bring? So we took a look at next week. There again, negative growth was really high at the beginning. We do not expect a lot of loads next week. And then we're seeing the flip-flop of this in this chart going forward. There again, flat up 0 to 5%. So then the weekly employee growth. What are you doing with your employees this week? At the start, we saw a lot of negative growth, a lot of layoffs, a lot of driver layoffs, obviously. And we're starting to see that taper off pretty heavily. But what we really did see, and this is probably a result of PPP and responsible owners like yourselves, a lot of flat growth. We're not going to get rid of our staff. We're going to keep our staff on. We're going to do everything we possibly can to keep our staff on. You see that play out in the scatter chart as well, as most of the answers were in the flat range. Then we asked about what's your anticipated weekly employee growth. What are you doing next week? There again, same thing, flat. We want to keep our staff on as best we can and bring them back. And then you see that piece moving forward. So when I was analyzing this data, I'm like, we asked about what they were doing, and we asked about what we thought they were going to be doing. Let's figure out how accurate they are. So I laid the two over the top of each other. So this is your weekly load estimate. How close were you to saying, next week I anticipate our loads are going to be either up or down, and what it actually was? And I will tell you that the survey respondents were in 0.0017% up or down. They were less than 1%, less than a fraction of an eighth of a percent away from being dead on when it came to estimating loads. So who's ever filling these out for y'all, or if you're filling these out, y'all know exactly what's anticipated next week and pretty much dead on. Same thing with the staff. What you anticipate next week's staff is and what you had, 0.25% accuracy. I mean, you guys were dead on where your staff was going to be the following week. So it has been absolutely fun to watch this. Please continue to fill this out. We are going to continue to do this. We want to be able to see how the economy impacts, how the economy rebounds for the industry. What's the value of this? When the Restaurant Association here in Ohio did this and they presented this to the governor saw that he needed to reopen restaurants. He needed to find a path to reopen restaurants because of the impact it was having to the restaurant industry. So this is the kind of data that moves policymakers' minds. I talked about communicate. We now have a new offering called OTA on the Air. Every other week, Thursdays at noon, we do a one-on-one interview. Rebecca was one of our interviews. Steve was one of our interviews. We're doing interviews with industry leaders and people who are the movers and shakers of the industry, government officials, and to be able to talk with them one-on-one to have a conversation. It's kind of a podcast scenario where we're just sitting around talking. Ed Nagel will be our guest next Thursday at noon. If you're not available at Thursday at noon, They're on our YouTube channel. You can download them at any time. I do apologize that I'm happen to be on most of them. Evan has been lucky enough to host a couple of them. But unfortunately, you have to look at my face for every one of them. But they're great services that we're able to offer for the association members to be able to learn what is going on in the industry and learn from positive people in the industry moving it forward. This is not the first live event we have hosted during the pandemic. Last month, we got the Driver of the Year together, 5 months late, but still, we put 9 of the 12 finalists in the room. We had almost 100 people in the room for the Driver of the Year. It was a great opportunity, and let's be honest, of all the years we want to celebrate drivers, this is the year we want to celebrate drivers. Jeff Rose, who has been a longtime Driver of the Year candidate, longtime Truck Driving Championship participant, is our 2020 Driver of the Year, actually 2019 Driver of the Year, and has done an amazing job. And he was last week's OTA on the air. Evan did a one-on-one interview with him during Truck Driver Appreciation Week to talk about the impact COVID has had on drivers and what companies can do to help drivers out. Jeff is a great example of what we're looking for in a professional truck driver. We've changed a lot of our communications pieces that we're moving forward. We changed the Ohio Transportation Weekly, which is not just, hey, we had a golf tournament, or next week is going to be this golf tournament. It is, what are some core business practices that are the examples of the best articles of the week? So we go through Fast Company, Harvard Business Review, Inc., McKinley and Strategies, McKinley and Company, and we provide to you the best business intelligence that you can have. So if that's the concern of why you're not opening this, is because you don't want to see another example of what an association is doing for recreation, this is not what this is. This is a hardcore business and business-oriented publication. We do include what we're doing as far as education goes, and we also have a section of it that we call What Have We Done For You This Week? Because if we as an association have not done something for our members this week, we're not worth it. So every week we tell you what we've done for you this week moving forward. One other thing that Evan has started putting together was a membership minute, which does include all the activities of the association, and that comes to you on Saturdays every other week. So we are starting to open up our communication and really tell our members about all the great things that we're doing. Talked a little bit about the merger with OAM. We are starting to develop what we're calling special interest groups, and this is an association piece that has been working through that we've already actually had in place. We've just never called them that. So the Safety Council and Maintenance Council are industry-specific functions that we have been servicing. Team 88 is a grassroots program that Doug Sibylla put together when he was the chair of people who are advocating on behalf of the association. And then the Ohio Association of Movers are obviously those in the moving and storage business who are part of the organization, but have a specific need. And that's one of the things that we're going to really work on this next year is, how do we better serve the niches that you're in as an industry? How do we better serve those people who are in heavy haul, or those people who are in warehousing, or those people who own CDL schools? How do we better serve the industry and become a bigger collective force to be able to get more policy pieces placed, provide better education, and really to help the industry grow moving forward? So let's talk a little bit about legislative initiatives. So we had another speaker get arrested by the FBI. I don't know what's going on here in Ohio or what's in the water, but kind of an interesting challenge. I can tell you, standing here under oath, we ain't in any trouble. We had nothing go our way that would have even got us even close to that particular issue. So the OTA is clean. I can tell you that without question. And somebody asked me that. He goes, "You involved in this?" I'm like, "No way. I ain't even anywhere near this." But we're taking a look at what can we do in 2020. We got a lot of stuff done in 18 and 19. And as you know from me, I want to keep driving. We have some momentum built, and in politics, having momentum built, if you don't stay on that gas pedal, you are not going to continue on and getting the things done. And as soon as you let loose, you're forgotten. So we're going to continue to drive. So the governor came out with his texting and driving as a primary offense bill. So we are highly supportive of that. In fact, it's our #1 legislative priority is getting that passed, to be able to get texting and driving as a primary offense. Should be able to lock off all the phones. In fact, I believe we have that in our industry, right? Why shouldn't it be on the passenger vehicles? So we are putting forward texting and driving as our primary objective legislatively. We are continuing to work on our Trucking Employments Act. If you remember, there were 4 bills, one of which was converting military CDLs to civilian CDLs. We're working through that process with the FMCSA right now. Scholarships to go to CDL school. And I say this ad nauseum, but it makes no sense in the world that we will give a student $60,000 in debt to get a degree in Sanskrit, and we won't give them $6,000 to go to truck driving school when one of them actually has a job opportunity that pays on the other end. So we are going to continue to work through that. We're going to continue to work on the training tax credit for finishing schools, which has been a huge push by Sherry Garner Brumbaugh, and we need to get that done. We need to educate them and get them the CDL schools. We need to finish them and get them in that next phase of their career. And then we need to find out, how do we insure young drivers? How do we find a way to provide some assurances to insurance companies that drivers under the age of 25 are insurable, and make sure that we don't have them take on undue risk? That's the big debate now, is obviously drivers under the age of 25 have a risk profile that's higher than normal. So how do we provide a safety net for insurance companies to be able to provide that insurance coverage for those drivers under the age of 25? We're also working on a new bundle of bills, because let's be honest, we're all talking about reopening and investing in our economy, and we're going to talk about investing in Ohio's recovery acts. Number one, there's no way in the world that Ohio can have a permanent trailer plate that is north of $500 and compete with Indiana where it's 84, or compete with Maine where it's 140. We need to get competitive. We need to quit building our castles around us and saying, okay, we're going to take advantage of our business owners and have them take their money elsewhere to license their trailers across the border. We need to bring that money back. We need to get government to realize that they can profiteer from this, that they can make money bringing people back to Ohio. So we're going to work on a permanent trailer plate scenario. I will tell you that with 840 taxing entities in this state, home rule charter gone wild, untangling the mess of trailer plates, which you think would be pretty simple, is unbelievable. The number of hands in that pot is just amazing. So we're trying to unravel that right now. The other piece is Ohio charges sales tax on forklifts. Indiana doesn't. Guess where everyone buys their forklifts? In Indiana. Why in the world are we losing that battle to our neighboring state again? We need to get rid of the sales tax on forklifts. A lot of the warehousing, distribution centers, they're all going to use that. Let's collect on bringing that investment back here in Ohio. We're also going to talk about personal delivery devices. Anyone hear of Roxo before? So FedEx has a robot that is built on a wheelchair for wounded vets. It's the one where they stand up. They've actually built a delivery device on there. Completely contactless delivery, can deliver prescription drugs, can walk up the stairs. The state of Ohio doesn't allow it. So we're trying to get those personal delivery devices in place. FedEx has one, Amazon has one, both members of ours, both ones that would provide a delivery option that's contactless, that would allow them to be much more efficient. So we're trying to get that piece there. The dot you see at the bottom of the slide means if there is anything else that is out there, some sort of red tape, some sort of challenge that prevents you from spending your money here in Ohio, investing here in Ohio, please let me know. We want to build a profile of bills that helps push this forward to be able to say, these are the things you can do. If you want to fix Ohio and reinvest in our economy and reinvest in our recovery, this is the things that the trucking industry needs from you right now to be able to get that done. The other piece that we're talking about very heavily is unemployment insurance. So if you remember, we were the driving force behind saving unemployment insurance and getting this state out of debt. It was costing you about $163 per employee per year additional here in Ohio in unemployment insurance 3 years ago. And we went through that process where we stepped forward and we saved every Ohio employer $163 per employee per year because we paid off the federal debt. The one change, this one change that was made during COVID was if you filed for unemployment insurance, you used to have to wait a week before your insurance premium or before your unemployment kicked in, right? There was the 1 week waiting period. That allowed them the opportunity to verify that you were unemployed. They got rid of the 1 week waiting period. That one change cost the state of Ohio $500 million. That one change. And that's just the unemployment benefits for that week window during COVID. The other piece is they weren't verifying anyone's unemployment status. If you filed for unemployment, you got it. And it didn't matter who you were unemployed by or what circumstances you were unemployed by. You got unemployment coverage. The state got approved for $3.2 billion to take a loan out from the federal government, which puts us back into that penalty phase that costs us an additional $163 per employee per year. And here's the even bigger kicker is that debt needs to be paid off by all of the employers in the state of Ohio. Well, what happens in an economic hit like this when all these restaurants close and all these hotels close and all these retail outlets close? There's less people to pay off that debt, which means that number goes up. No one in the state of Ohio has dealt with this issue, has even thought about this issue. And I will tell you, this is the biggest wave that's going to hit employers in this state in the next year, is how bad this system is screwed up. And no one has ever wanted to fix it. So we are going to take a lead on that to be able to try to fix that and get ourselves through that process. Obviously, autonomous vehicles in Drive Ohio is something that we're a part of. I was named to the Drive Ohio Advisory Board. The governor just announced last couple weeks that he's got an Ohio Traffic Council, Ohio Traffic Safety Council. I was named to that. So we're at the plate when it comes to all these innovations that the state's trying to put into place. And the other piece is the one insurance piece in 4 states that will never go away is unemployment workers' comp. Out-of-state workers' comp coverage for those 4 states that are monopolistic states is an ongoing nightmare, an ongoing exposure, and we're still trying to find ways to fix it. We think we have a solution, but the BWC doesn't want to let us out of paying them because they're such great advocates of our money. We think we have a better option, and we're continuing to try to work through that. Talked a little bit about OTA Institute. So this is our educational programs. This is a photo of us having a training in the office, perfectly socially distanced. I will tell you the staff has done an amazing job of making sure that we are doing everything that we possibly can to hold events and do it by the book. So we've had issues on legal issues, financial issues, regulatory affairs issues. We have a capacity of 9, maybe 10 if we need to be able to put everyone in for the training sessions. And then we also have the hybrid training, and I talked a little bit about that. We are going to continue to push the pedal because we understand that budgets are going to be tight for everyone, and travel budgets are probably cut down to nothing, that you can still get the education you need to move your business forward sitting at your desk. And I think a lot of people have become a lot more comfortable with that. We are not done having in-person events this year. So we still have actually 2 more. There's a golf tournament here in a couple weeks. And then we have our Ohio Trucking Association Technology Conference. This is a one-of-a-kind event in the country. We're the only state that does a specific conference on technology. Thank you to eRoad for sponsoring that and being our presenting sponsor for that, and all the sponsors have been a part of this. But if you're wondering what the next cutting edge on technology is, what is coming in the industry from a technological standpoint, this is the conference you need to be at. It's a great conference. It's extremely specific to that one sector of the industry. How do we make better use of our data? What sort of impacts are we going to have from a safety perspective as far as safety devices on our trucks, and what does that impact there? As you know, we as an industry get inundated with data.
Check. Hey.
No battery change? So we focused as a trucking company on miles per gallon. You can figure that out on a calculator. You don't need a big system to figure that out. How do you pull the most data out of your systems and put it to use for your business? So very excited about what we have going on this year. I'm very proud, like I said, of the staff, of the membership, of everyone that has been involved in this association this year. It's not been an easy year. It has obviously been one that has been extremely challenging. We've had to experience things that we've never experienced before, and this is an exciting time. I'm very proud of it. I feel that without question, that your value of membership in this association has grown, quadruple, octuple, 10 times, 20 times, that we have really come through for this industry to be able to make this thing work and to move our way forward. Again, thank you to Pilot Flying J for their support of this conference, and very much thank you to all of you. The fact that we have 116 people here in the middle of COVID is absolutely great. I'm glad to see everyone. I'm very happy to see, I was going to say faces, eyeballs covered up with masks, but I'm very happy to see all of you. And again, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to serve you. So